Hey, it's Nick, and today I want to talk about Java server pages. A Java server page is a hybrid of Java code and HTML all in one file. And what that gives us is sort of a syntactic sugar where we can write well-formed HTML and insert Java code and Java logic wherever we need inside the page. So we use JSP pages to get information from the user and also to present information to the user. So this would be something in the presentation layer of our web application. And at runtime, a JSP is compiled into Java bytecode. So behind the scenes, the compiler takes care of all the messy bits of joining and converting the HTML and Java into an actual Java file that it can compile down into Java bytecode and run. So JSP pages are really good for doing our user interface kind of things in a web application, a Java EE style web application. So the first thing that we need to understand about doing JSP work is how do we mix in our Java code inside of the JSP file. And there's sort of 4 different ways to do that. They're all by using different kinds of structures inside of the JSP. So in this greetings.jsp, we have all 4 kinds of structures that are available to use. And each structure is used for a different reason. So the first structure up here that has an @ symbol right after the %sign in between these 2 tags here, this is called a directive. And we use this usually at the very beginning of the page, and we'll set the page's content type and language. And another reason that we may use a directive is to do imports. If we have packages, utilities, things that we need to bring into the JSP page for use in our Java code. So that's what a directive is used for. The next one we'll look at is called a declaration. A declaration is used only for setting up variables for use anywhere in the JSP page. It has a wide scope, but you can only use it to set variables. The next one here is called a scriptlet, and we'll use this one a lot because we can set variables and also do conditional logic. Same kind of Java programming logic that you're used to writing in a normal Java class. And the difference between the scriptlet and the declaration is the scriptlet, obviously, as I said, it can do conditional logic and arithmetic and also set variables, but it has a more narrow scope than the declaration. So if you need your variable to be accessible anywhere inside of the JSP page, you would set the variable using a declaration. But for most uses, a scriptlet will work fine. You can see I'm setting the user variable here, and then I'm calling it down here inside of the HTML body, which that brings us to the last kind of structure for putting in Java code into our JSP page, and the one that ends with an equal sign is called an expression. So any Java code that will return a value can be put in an expression. So here we put user in here, so the user's toString method would output some information here. So we're saying user request.getParameter user. The first time this page is called, this parameter will not be set, so it'll be null, and user will get set to the default value, which is guest. So the first time you see this page, it'll say hello guest. You won't see any of this stuff here. It'll just say hello guest with an exclamation point. And then the next time, if I were to go into the form and put my name in that text box, then the request object's user parameter would get a attribute named user and a value of whatever I put in that text box. So the next time, so when I hit submit, it submits it to the greeting JSP, this same page, and when I hit submit, this page will refresh, and that time the request get parameter will have a value. It will not be null, so it'll get set to whatever I put in that text field. And we're going to go look at that right now. So let's start it up. This will take a couple seconds to get loaded up. And it didn't bring me right to where I needed to go. I need to go to greeting JSP. So as I said, it's the first time it gets called, it's just going to say hello guest, and I put a string in here and submit it. Now it refreshes to hello Nick. So that's some dynamic web page action going on there. Okay. So let's go back to the code, and I want to talk about implicit variables inside of a JSP page. There's a number of implicit variables that are objects that are automatically provided for use inside of scriptlets and expressions. So inside of this scriptlet here, you could see I'm using the request objects get parameter method, and I'm searching for user. And what that gives me is when this user has hit submit, a new request object gets made, and it'll have a parameter named user associated with it, with whatever is put into that text box. They may submit it with nothing in it, or whatever sort of text string they want to put in there, it'll get stuffed inside this user string. So that's request is one of the implicit variables that's available to us, and we'll look at a couple other JSP pages that make use of other kinds of implicit variables. So let's go look at the checkbox JSP, and this is another one that has a form, and this time the form's action is to go to a different JSP page, and what it should do is provide us a form where we have a checkbox and we can select a number of our favorite fruits and hit submit, and a new request object will be created that has a parameter of fruit and then all of the values that we selected. So that will get sent over to checkboxes submit, and we have a scriptlet up here that has a string array of fruits. We use that request objects get parameter values of fruit, and that'll populate our array with a name of each of the fruit that we have selected in that checkbox. So then we have some HTML, and we start doing some conditional logic for what we want to display on the page. If that user did not select any fruits, we're just going to put on the page that they did not select any fruits. But if they did select at least one fruit, we're going to loop through that array and print inside of an unordered list the name of each fruit that that person selected. So let's go look at that real quick. The first time I'm just going to do it with selecting nothing. So this time we got the you did not select any fruits, and this time I'm going to select a couple of them, and we can see that it found the 3 that I selected. So the last thing I want to talk about in JavaServer pages is the use of context parameters. And this is a really handy feature where you can set up context parameters inside of the web.xml file. You set up a name and a value for the parameters, and when you have those set up, when you deploy the project, these parameters will be available throughout your web application. So it's sort of a handy place to put a global sort of variable that you might want to use. So go look at context parameters, and we're going to use those settings. We have an expression structure here. So inside the body, we're going to see setting 1 is whatever is evaluated to application get init parameter setting 1. This application is another kind of implicit variable, and basically what this object does is give us access to web configuration information like parameters. So we're going to call the get init parameter method setting 1. So that's going to find the value of foo, and then setting 2 is going to get us the value of bar. So we're going to see setting 1 foo, setting 2 bar. So let's go look at that. Context parameters JSP, setting 1 foo, setting 2 bar. So that's how you use context parameters. And I wanted to talk about one other implicit variable. I meant to mention the out object when we were looking at checkboxes. This is used to write directly to the response object inside of the web application. So we can use the out object to print directly to this web page. So that's how we're getting that output inside of the unordered list. We're using that out object, and we're printing to it a list with the value of each fruit in that fruit array. So that concludes a quick overview of what JavaServer pages are and how to use them. This whole project will be available on my GitHub account if you would like to follow along. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope you found this interesting and enjoyed it. Thanks. Bye.